Welcome to tonight's Talk, Listen, Share. We have an amazing topic tonight that I think all of you have at one time questioned or want more education or research on because there's so many things out there about supplements. Tonight's co-host is Dr. Sonia Fung of the Live Well and also fellow board member, and Janine Parafan from the Family Physicians. Again, vitamins and supplements have always been a hot topic in the cancer world. And tonight, these ladies are going to talk to you all about it. As you know, Shay's Warriors is a 501c3 nonprofit that was started right here in the Valley after I went through my own triple negative breast cancer. It was meant to be able to act and outreach with other community members in life after cancer. And Share was brought to everyone during the pandemic. So with a small educational group, and it is meant to be able to give you all of the incentives and all of the education that's out there and even ask more questions. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Fung now. Hey, Sonia.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? And so we have a lot to cover tonight because supplements, there's so many different aspects of supplements that a lot of people don't necessarily take into consideration when they are taking supplements. So before we even get into that, I just want to say like a really quick spiel. Tonight, we're going to talk about a lot of things, but what we are not going to talk about is diagnosing disease or recommending any type of dietary supplement, vitamin, herbal product, or anything to you all. Both Jeannie and I are licensed healthcare providers, but we are not necessarily your healthcare provider. So any of this stuff, any new supplements or whatnot that you're interested in, you have to ask your doctor about that. This is not medical advice in any way. All right. So that being said, so the bottom line for tonight is that not all supplements are created equal. So this talk is going to be all about, if, when, what form, if you want to take them, if you are even a candidate for them, or if you don't want to take them at all. So let us start with, how do you know if these vitamins, mineral supplements, herbs are right for you? And the first thing that I would do is ask your knowledgeable healthcare provider if these, whatever you're thinking about, is right for you, because they know your health history, and they should have, they have their expertise in this area. They, you might be on other medications and other things like that. So there are drug herb interactions, drug supplement interactions, herb interactions. So they are your best resource, or should be your best resource for you and your health. So please don't ask, for example, the supplement aisle clerk, at a vitamin store or at the supermarket or at any big box store or whatnot, or hear it on TV on some, late night infomercial, and you're like, oh, this is great for me. Is it though? So just
how about when those Instagram and Facebook ads pop up? Oh, this is the lost drug. This is the new drug that will help you stronger and run faster.
Oh, TikTok. They're like, Mayo Clinic level. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. And so you're like, so many people are bombarded with all of these, external influences. And I don't know if this happens to you, Jeannie. I get like emails with like screenshots of, hey, I just saw this, or so-and-so like told me to take that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Why? Why? Like, for what? First of all, for what? And um so anyway, yeah. So my personal motto is less is more. So if you anyhow, so the if your healthcare provider is not familiar with this is not their expertise, really, you want to ask someone who is very knowledgeable in this, and like maybe a pharmacist or an integrative practitioner or whatnot. We are out there. There are a lot of resources out there that are not TikTok. Okay, just let's be clear. Okay. So when a patient comes in and they think that they need to be on a lot of these supplements. Um, Oftentimes, we start with lab testing. Okay, so blood work, urine testing. There are other ways that you can do specialized testing to see whether or not you even need some of these supplements or nutrients, right? So why take something that you don't need just because it sounds good, right? I know there's can be a lot of issues with insurance. Sometimes they cover, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you have to pay out of pocket. Some people have, HSAs or FSAs, uh, like health savings accounts that you can utilize for healthcare expenses. Um, but even though might be an extra step, it is well worth it to be certain of what you actually need, right? So take that time, invest in that time to find out if you actually need it or not. Okay. It is worth your while. There are also a lot of online resources or databases that you can do some outside research. Memorial Sloan Kettering has a great on their website. There is an herbal like supplement vitamin search database in their integrative medicine section or portion of their website. That you that is a great free resource. The NIH National Institutes of Health, they have a integrative health uh, arm. It also there's an herb app called Herbalist, and it has a lot of great well researched information about a lot of different herbs out there. It's not super robust or complete. It doesn't have a lot of herbs, but it has a lot of the very common herbs. And then also look at label claim. So look at the actual bottle itself, the label, and see what it actually says. If it says, for example, that it will cure cancer. If it sounds too good to be true, it typically is. So be aware of some interesting label claims, because there are, again, a lot of how do I say this nicely? A lot of supplements and or products that claim a lot of things and like gimmicks, like take these gummy supplements for a week and lose 30 pounds. Really? Does that sound logical to you? You know, if it doesn't sound, if it doesn't sound right, if it sounds kind of impossible, um, you should really take a step back and think about that. Take a pause, because because I'm like, what's in those gummies? You know, methamphetamine? Like, come on. How are you going to shed that weight? You know? Anyway, sorry. I'm going to turn it over to Jeannie really quick because she actually has some amazing information about actual things that will be of benefit.
And on what Dr. Fong was saying is that, so a couple of things about those supplements that she was talking about and reading labels. Every single one of those are going to have a disclaimer. You've all seen them. They get you hyped up, and then in like 3 font that none of us can read, saying this is not meant to cure any disease because it's not FDA regulated, so they can't claim to cure. Results will vary by individual. So when you see that, that's a disclaimer that, yes, we're going to take your money, but we don't guarantee it's going to work. So that's a big thing too. And while Sonia was talking about supplements, right? Something to supplement with, I'm going to branch off a little bit and talk about some herbs that we do use in our day-to-day thing that you may want to use more of. And also, even with herbs, it's not just take this herb and you're all fine. There's some herbs you have to be careful with how you take them, especially with certain types of cancers, and how they're prepared to get the antioxidant, anti-cancer results that you want out of them. So I'm going to talk on 3 different types of cancers. Just to kind of try to meet everybody's needs. The first one, actually, I'm going to talk about prostate cancer. And so let's talk about all mushrooms. The big ones are like shiitake, white button mushrooms. A study was done that eating just mushrooms twice a week can reduce prostate cancer risk by about 8%. 5 times a week, up to 17%. So that's overall prostate cancer with a variety of the different types of mushrooms. However, specifically to the white button mushroom, they're really looking at some great new data that's out to prevent cancer. And even during cancer treatment, it has androgen blocking. And what that means in layman's terms is that prostate cancer is androgen, right? It's a hormonal type cancer. And if we can block that hormone, we can decrease the tumor from growing. And that's, in a nutshell, what white button mushrooms do for prostate cancer. So if you are a male that is a part of this tribe, that might be an anecdotal information for you. Of course, we are not recommending any medical treatment, just something for you to look on your own. And then, of course, discuss with your primary care provider or oncologist, who should have the latest information on that. And that's from a study out of Johns Hopkins Oncology. So all of the information that we're sharing here is from evidence-based research and not just herbal books like Mayo Clinic, other sites that are big on cancer research and want to use whatever we can in our tool belt to prevent and treat, and then, of course, decrease risk of recurrence. So the next one I want to talk about is basil. So anybody who loves Italian food probably loves a little basil and like pesto. And there are some great things about basil, but then there's not so great things about pesto. So basil has been known to help decrease breast cancer as well as treat triple negative breast cancer. And that's the actual basil, the herb, like the fresh herb, however you want to get that herb. But basil oil, otherwise known as, that is in the pesto, there's a lot of oil in there. That's too concentrated and actually can have the opposite effects. So when you hear something about how great it is, make sure you learn everything about how it comes. Mushrooms, raw or cooked to get the best treatment out of it. What's leaching out of that mushroom that you want? It looks like Shay wants to say something, so I'll let her jump in.
Like, this is really
She's on the edge, so I'm gonna let her go. And then
I know nothing about supplements. I literally go to and ask you about supplements and what I should take, or Dr. Lisa Lindley, like the doctors. I never try to take supplements without asking my doctors first, because I'm just kind of straight lined right like that. But when you bring up basil, like I literally am freaking out right now. Before I was diagnosed with triple negative, I used basil all the time. I love to cook Italian. My dad was Italian. I use it all the time. Dry basil all the time. And basil made me super, super sick. And I don't know why, but there must be something within, and I'm not saying it was bad, but maybe it was like, I don't know, maybe it was giving me a sign that I didn't know. Yeah. But basil, I couldn't use basil for a long time because it made me sick. It was weird.
Yeah, it's some of it could been how it was reacting with your hormones, because
Right.
it definitely interacts with the female hormones. So yeah, that's really interesting. And depending upon how you were using your basil, like the pesto, if you're making pesto, that concentrated part of that basil would definitely have counter effects on you.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, but so women, and especially women that are risk, or you've had breast cancer, and take a look at basil and its therapeutic effects, because I think it's a really great thing, because it's not a supplement. It's not, remember, a supplement is something that you're missing. We're supplementing. Okay. Herbs, I'm just talking about stuff you're already cooking with that can have some great health benefits. So we talked about prostate cancer, breast cancer. That's a big one with Shay's Warriors. And we can talk about all cancers. We're going to talk about garlic. So garlic is not just for warding off vampires. It can ward off cancer.
And
right?
other people too.
Right? So it has been used since ancient times to flavor food, right? Not everybody had access to other herbs, and garlic. In my house, you will smell garlic whether you want to or not. There's a lot of cooking with garlic. It's great. And so it has antibacterial, antifungal, and antioxidant properties. Okay. The biggest thing that you're going to hear and read about garlic is its anti-inflammatory factors. And I know we've talked on this over and over when we talk about things to avoid in foods and this and that. And when we had our talk about obesity, inflammation is what's really hurting us. We get it from poor quality foods. We get it some foods that are just naturally anti-inflammatory. We can get it from supplements. And garlic has anti-inflammatory factors. So when we can decrease inflammation, we decrease that miscommunication to cells, because that's all cancer is. It's a miscommunication to a cell, and it just starts rapidly multiplying. And when we can decrease those bad communicators, decrease inflammation, we're going to decrease the risk of cancer. It's big. One of the big topics with garlic is colon cancer, GI tract. We're just cleaning it out. Anti-inflammatory, keep that GI tract clean. We decrease the risk of colon cancer. And then it has some great, antioxidant, anti-carcinogenic effects on lung cancer. One of the things about garlic is how it's prepared. So I'm going to read this, because I didn't memorize, because I didn't know this part till recently. So how to maximize the benefits of garlic. Crush, chop, or slice garlic before you eat it. I would assume most of us don't eat it whole, but if you do, okay. This releases the allicin. So it's the allicin content in the garlic that has those inflammatory. I mean, you guys know, you eat garlic or you sear it, and it just opens up those nasal passages, right? And then before you cook with crushed garlic, so if you crush it yourself, let it sit for 10 minutes. So that's the first thing you should do before, if you're going to cook with garlic, crush your garlic, set it aside, do whatever else you need to do, let it release the antioxidants that are in it, and then cook with it and enjoy your garlic. And there's no downside to garlic that I could find. However, of course, if you're in treatment, okay, let me be very, very clear. If you're in treatment, there are several herbs that, while have great properties, can increase bleeding times and can interfere with chemotherapy. So you never want to touch a supplement or an herb. I'm talking, like, I know you people, we get a disease and we don't think about the basil and the garlic that we're eating for, but you need to start thinking about those things and how they can interact with your chemotherapy. And now we'll go back to Sonia to talk more about labels, choices, and how to trust research versus advertisements. Remember, advertisements, if they're not coming from Mayo Clinic, it's not an educational thing. They're trying to sell you something. They're trying to sell you something.
Yeah. And I mean, not necessarily anything bad with that. It's just that you have to just be extra careful and again, do your research. And the interesting, going back to the garlic as a food or other, using herbs as a food is different from using, a garlic supplement or a basil supplement, right? Or a concentrated amount or a specific type of, constituent of that herb or whatever. And so it has different actions in your body. And depending on where you're at in your cancer journey, is sometimes you need to take a break from things. And yes, that's all I'm going to say about that. All right, cool. So how do you we're going to talk about quality in supplements and what to look for in a quality supplement. So as Jeannie said, that the FDA does not regulate dietary supplements. In the US, there's no regulatory agency-ish for all of these vitamins and minerals. But there are a lot of independent third-party testing and other types of regulatory agencies outside of the US that have more stringent benchmarks that a lot of high-quality supplement companies utilize. So a few of those are, let's see. So oftentimes, if you are researching a supplement, on their website somewhere will be something about quality and testing. So in that section, if it is a good product, there will be a section on their website about it. They will talk about following good manufacturing practices, GMP, through the U.S. Pharmacopoeia, USP, which is a base standard for safe manufacturing in the U.S. There is like a Canadian GMP, which is more stringent than the US. There is the TGA, which is the Therapeutic Goods Association, which is Australia's regulatory agency that is responsible for evaluating the safety of their dietary supplements. There is the Natural Product Association, NPA, and then the National Sanitation Foundation, NSF, which is a third-party independent testing. Most or all of these high quality manufacturers that or brands that produce high quality supplements utilize almost all of those as their standard, and you have to, if you get them, it means like they have passed these benchmarks. Some supplement companies also do a certificate of analysis of their products. So they will kind of batch test to make sure that whatever is said on the label actually is on the label, right? So those are important things to look at in trying to make sure that you are getting or like purchasing, ingesting quality product. Other things to look at that are a few red flags. So when you look at the back of a label, and sometimes they're in like, again, size 2 font and you can't really see anything, but it should say what these ingredients are, and it should say what dosage there is. So however many milligrams, micrograms, whatever. And what some of them say that is a red flag to me is, proprietary formula, and it just lists all the ingredients but no actual dosage of each
They
ingredient.
might not even list the ingredients.
And it might not list the ingredients as well. So that is a huge red flag. Yeah, that's a huge red flag. Like, so what exactly are you putting in, like, into your body that is proprietary to them, right? And then there's, on the bottom of all of the label, there is other ingredients. So in the other ingredients is everything else that they put in the capsule or the tablet or whatever. And how many are there? Can you actually pronounce them? Are they all, are they binders? Are they fillers? Are they, preservatives? Are they colors and dyes? Are they natural flavors? So there are a lot of other things that might be in whatever that supplement is. So you have to look at those things and be careful about them. Okay. So aside from all of that, you have to make sure that the nutrients that you're ingesting, that your body is able to actually absorb and utilize. That is called being bioavailable. And that has like lots of, for example, a very common supplement is calcium. Most people have taken calcium or do take calcium at some point in their life. However, again, not all supplements or not all calcium is created equal. There are lots of different types of calcium. For example, there is a calcium carbonate form versus a calcium citrate form or a coral calcium form. The calcium carbonate form is probably very common, off the shelf, very common in multivitamins, in Centrum Silver or whatever. And that is the cheapest form, least absorbable, least bioavailable form of calcium that you can put in your body. And I know a lot of women take this to try to prevent, like bone degradation, for osteoporosis, osteopenia, right? Make sure that you know what you're putting in your body. You're not necessarily taking the calcium carbonate form, because how much of that are you actually absorbing? Very little, if any, right? And let's see.
So what's the difference? I don't know or understand what does carbonate form mean.
Right.
What does synthetic mean? Like, is it the same? Like, tell us a little bit more about that, because I think the average person doesn't know what that means exactly.
If you're taking a pill that's this big, bioavailability means how much of that pill is the active ingredient of what you're trying to get in, and how much of that do you need on a daily basis. So calcium carbonate, let's say we're trying to get you up to 1,200 milligrams a day, and it says it's a 600 milligram pill. Well, the thing is that milligram is based upon the weight of the pill, not really how much you're getting in. So what is it about calcium carbonate that makes it weigh that, the binders and everything else in that, and how your body's breaking it down? So if you look at coral calcium, okay, so 600 milligrams, same size pill, but let's say, for instance, and that's probably still not the best, I just know it's better than the carbonate, you're going to get twice as much of the calcium out of the same size pill that you did out of the calcium carbonate. And one of the reasons for that happens is, again, not regulated by the FDA, right? So everybody's going to take their calcium and try to market it their way of how does it break down in the body, how much are you getting it out, the binders that they use, and not really have to explain it to you, because they're not making a medical recommendation. They're just saying, hey, we know you need calcium, and this is how we're going to market to help protect your bones. So bioavailability means how much of that huge pill that you're getting, like, are you really absorbing nutrient wise? And is there a better choice that somebody like Dr. Fong could recommend, because that is her thing and knows way more about it than we're going to know in primary care. The best supplement for bioavailability, so you're actually getting out of it what you think you're getting out of it. But then people go, oh my gosh, I'm taking, my calcium and vitamin D, and my labs really didn't change. And then it turns out they were taking D2 instead of D3. So we put them on the D3, which is what more bioavailable, which is what they're really deficient in. Same dose, just a different type. And then their labs are improved, and we've got the vitamin D levels that we want. So people can work it.
It probably makes a difference too, their height, their weight, and from you really need a blood test to really understand this stuff, right? Versus, hey, I'm not getting enough sun, I'm super white, I need to go to the store and get vitamin D or whatever. Like, that's I mean, or do I just suntan all day and that's how I get my vitamin D? No problem. I mean, there's also that type of person who thought process.
Oh, I get people that tell me they drink milk, and I'm like, well, you have to drink 50 glasses of milk to get what you get in a little tiny vitamin D capsule.
Right.
Right.
And we live far from the equator, so that's why we're so very vitamin D deficient here in the United States. And that's a talk for another time, vitamin D.
Yes, that is.
But it all comes down to bioavailability, as well as what you really need. Because, the big vitamin D came out. Everybody's trying to make vitamin D, but I don't even know why vitamin D2 is on the market. It does really nothing for you. So
yes. So you have to get right. You have to get the right form, right? You have to get the right route of route. Yeah. Of how the type that you want to take. So, for example, instead of the big horse pills that are very difficult to break down, they have lots of binders in them that are inactive ingredients, right? It's the binders help to keep it in a pill shape, right? If they didn't have the binders, it would all fall apart, right? So that versus a capsule, like a veggie cap that has the calcium powder in it versus a loose powder of calcium versus a liquid form of calcium versus, all there's gel forms, there's chewable gummies. Anyway, so
Calcium
we'll get
chews
to
that
that.
look like Starburst.
I know. We'll get to that later.
Know this. Only way to know this is to go to your doctor.
Yes. Right.
And most of you, a lot of patients know this because we do it in all offices. The most common thing is the B12, right? Mm-hmm. So patients they don't even really know why we're saying, oh, come in for your monthly B12 injection, because by the time it hits the stomach, that's not just about bioavailability, like the pill and what's in it. It's that the acid in your stomach breaks it down, and it just doesn't have time to absorb into the bloodstream. So the pill that you have to take, you're going to get a tiny bit. Then there's little tiny sublingual ones. You're getting a little bit more. But when we give you a shot, you're getting the whole 1,000 micrograms. You're going to feel the difference in the B12 because it improves brain fog, fatigue, gives you a little extra pep. Because a lot of us are not getting the B12 because where do we find it? In vegetables, right? And we have a hard time getting those veggies in. But that's another part about a bioavailability. It kind of has more than just one thing. It's the type and how our body breaks it down.
Right. And how much is able to absorb.
Right. Yeah. Like more isn't better. People tell me like, oh, well, I had a fever and it said take 2, but it just kept coming back. So I took 3. And I'm like, but your body couldn't absorb that. All you did was, we eliminated it through the GI tract. It had nowhere to go, and it didn't give you any more therapeutic effect.
Speaking of absorption, right? After someone has gone through cancer, after someone has gone through all of the drugs that we have to do, is that an issue with some people? Yes. I know it is personally for me.
100%.
Tell us a little bit about that, if you wouldn't.
So with that, with absorption, the main thing is how well are you breaking down these substances and how well does your body absorb? So if you already have compromise because of the inflammation, because of the medications and other things through treatment that you had to do, you have to heal your gut and get rid of and reduce as much inflammation as possible to allow your gut to heal. Right? So that your digestive system, your digestive lining can do its job of breaking down whatever you're taking in and absorbing all the nutrients instead of kind of letting everything just leak out of your system. And yes, I think that's one of the main reasons why we're identifying all of these different types and forms of these supplements, because same thing with drugs too. It's all about the absorption and the ability for the body to absorb. So if you're already compromised and you're taking these big horse pills that your body's having a very difficult time to break down and you're only getting this much out of it, right? How much more then do you actually need of that? Or can you get a better form, a more bioavailable form that your body can more easily absorb more of it, so you don't have to take as much of other things and still get that therapeutic benefit, right? So that goes back to a different topic, a different lecture that we've talked about gut health and gut repair. And so, okay, some of the other things when you're talking about, when Gina talked about B vitamins, one of the big things that that a lot of my patients ask about is the different types of forms. There's the active methylated form, and then there are precursor forms, like cofactor forms, like cyanocobalamin. So, without getting too technical here, those are two different types of B vitamins that you can get injectables or whatnot for. But some people genetically cannot utilize a precursor form efficiently. So they have to convert it into a active form or methylated form before their body is able to utilize it. So it can be, again, a genetic issue, and it just depends on the person, right? And depends on what they need. Other things to look at in supplements is also the strength or the dosage. So some combination products, like B complexes and whatnot, they have very small dosages of each of these, each of the different B vitamins. Some B complexes are a little bit more robust. They have much higher doses. So you can take less of it to get the same effect. So again, these are all things that I don't know, that we take into consideration before recommending to our patients, right? Because pill count can be a big issue.
Can I elaborate on that?
Absolutely.
Okay, viewers, you know who you are. There are those of you that buy this supplement because, oh, this is good for my hair and nails. And then you go out and buy your complex B, and then you have your multivitamin. And then you have another thing that you hear is good just for your hair. So I can go into your pill cabinet or into your medicine cabinet, and I'm going to find 4 pill bottles that all have biotin at different amounts. And in a day, you're getting 20,000 and your body can only use 5. So when we look at supplements, like a multivitamin, that's kind of like, if you're going to do a multivitamin, then do a multivitamin. That's where you start. But when you start adding on things that are multi and not just single, you really, again, you have to look at the labels and make sure that you're not taking the same supplement in 10 different bottles that are trying to sell you something, because they're trying to sell you something because B is good for hair, skin, and nails. So you're going to think, oh, this is my hair, skin, and nails one, and then here's my B one for energy. No, they've all got the same thing in them. So be very, very careful about what you're buying, and just stop, because you're going to end up and then you can't take it because somebody's going to finally point it out, and then you're going to have all this stuff left over in your cabinet. Yeah. She's agreeing. She's seen that.
And Shay's people come with like
Sonia's
too
seen
bad.
it.
I don't have anything in my cabinet except Dr. Kong gives me and my other doctor.
Now.
Oh my gosh, there are so many people that a lot of
and
patients.
Not even and educated people.
Yeah, it's for sure.
It's not, because
it's everyone, because it sounds good. And it's natural. It shouldn't hurt you, right?
And some things can say one thing, like I'm trying, Sonia, you might be able to help me, but they might call one thing B12 and then the other the precursor. But know what I'm saying? And so they're taking one of each. Right. So it can, the same vitamin or herb can
they just package it differently.
Different names,
Yes.
So you can't,
and then they package it differently. Yes. So it's sometimes hard to tell.
Yep. Because if you have and I'll do something that everybody usually has, 2 common examples. If you have Tylenol and then you have acetaminophen, that's the exact same thing. Tylenol is just a company that makes acetaminophen. If you have Advil and you have ibuprofen, they're the exact same thing. Advil is just a company that makes ibuprofen. So it's really important that you read the label, because on the back of the Advil label, it's going to say ibuprofen. So again, it's all reading labels, but knowing what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. So if you don't want to think about all,
when there are so many conflicting things that are there, and a lot of times we get our news from Dr. Google or Facebook or Twitter or Snapchat, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah.
We don't even have time to
again,
look it up because it's gone.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Again,
Yeah.
stressing, call your doctor, call your nurse practitioner. Get
Right.
your
Well,
Right. You know what's really important that I can't stress enough, and it just doesn't happen enough, especially your first visit with a provider, and or you have something new. Bring it with you.
yes.
I
Yes.
want to look at it, because if
Yes.
you tell me, oh, I'm taking such and such, I love that you think that I know, but I don't. I have no idea what Tom's Farms hair, skin, and nails has in it. You got to bring it.
Yes.
I'll read the label. We'll talk about it, but you have to bring me everything so I can help you. And what I don't know, I will send you over to Dr. Fong.
And there's like, I don't know, I same thing. They're like, oh, well, I take this, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, do you know what it is? And I was like, no, I don't. There's like a bazillion supplements and or supplement companies out there. And they're always changing or coming out with new things. So
Well, you
I
don't
can't
know what
keep
the
up with
little
that.
blue triangle pill is?
Right.
How about the green square one?
Right. But it's a yellow capsule.
Yeah,
And I'm
it's
like,
yellow. You don't know? 75,000 pills on the market. That's not one that I know. I wish that I did. And I'm not trying to make fun of anybody.
No.
I know that because whoever takes that particular medication, it might be common, and you think that we should all know because it has its own funky shape, and it does, and for a reason. It does help us identify, and every pill is stamped with something to help us too. But I just don't have them all memorized what they look like.
Well, and I think it's really important that when you doctor, you go to your women's wellness, because it is Women's Health Month.
Yes.
We should be going to get our checkups. But when you do go, you should have all your supplements and all your vitamins to be able to show your doctor, because you need to be put on an actual medication to help you. There could be some interactions with those supplements or those vitamins that we don't even know about, and it could contradict what you're trying to get healthy with. And that's something that I learned going through and after cancer, in the fact that you just don't want to take certain medications with certain supplements. They don't mesh. So very important for those of us out there that don't have the background and the knowledge that the both of you do, but to remember that vitamins and supplements, anything you're putting in your body, can make a difference with an actual medication that you need.
Yeah. And same with different medications interacting with one another. There's a lot when you're adding in all of these different variables, there's always some type of interaction. And what we're trying to do as providers is to minimize that interaction and make sure that you have an actual therapeutic effect, right? So please let us know what you're on, and don't just assume that we know, right? Because there's so many things out there we can't keep up.
And be patient, both with the naturopath side and your primary care side. So I can tell you, like, we all have these programs, and it stops us too when we're sending prescriptions. So, if you're on 2 prescription medications, I can look up those interactions. They haven't come up with something where I can put a medication in an herb, because herbs are not regulated and we don't know, or supplements aren't all regulated and we don't know. So it's okay if your provider on either side of the aisle says, hey, you know what? Before you do that, let me do some research and I'll get back to you. Because I'm not going to know on the fly how your diabetic medication interacts with some new supplement or herb, even that maybe Sonia has you on, right? And so I'll say, hey, let me take a look and let me consult, and then I'll get back to you. And it just might not happen in that first visit. And that's okay. And please, exercise some grace and understanding that medicine is dynamic. We're all individuals, and it's going to affect us differently. And even though we don't have the answer at that time, we'll find it, and we'll make sure,
Yes.
because our goal is to give you the best outcome possible.
Absolutely. And before, I know we're running a little tight on time, but I definitely want to also speak a little bit about where you're purchasing your supplements or vitamins or whatnot. There are places that there is supplement fraud and fake supplements, and you could buy it. It looks the same online as it would in person. Like it's gotten very sophisticated, but it's something completely. It could be, it could be chalk. It could be, I don't know, wood shavings or whatever. It could be whatever it is, and not the actual thing. So you really have to use some discretion on where you actually purchase your vitamins, especially if you are buying them online. So we don't want to name any whatever places, but a very common place, online market, that a lot of people buy their supplements on it's kind of guesswork. It's a little iffy sometimes. So make sure that the places that you're actually purchasing from are legit, and they are actually selling the things that they should be selling. So, all right.
We're going to talk about gummies. I think that's a good.
Oh, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So gummies.
I feel like it should be a separate all talk, listen, share in itself.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Because everything comes in gummy form now. Everything.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And gummies. Okay. So personally, I think gummies may only be for little kids. There are other forms that are better for even children to take, liquid forms, powder forms that do not include sugar and gummies. Okay. So how much again, all the things that we talked about today, how the dosage, the format that you're taking it in, what we're trying to do is reduce inflammation and improve health, right? And gummies aren't the way. Eating gummy bears are not the way, even if they're healthy. Okay. That's my personal view, spiel.
So just to elaborate, so why gummies came in is because if you've ever taken a multivitamin, you can get really nauseated because it takes a lot of work for your body to break down that coating. So they recommend, to drink orange juice. Well, some of us can't always drink orange juice or grab something. So gummies came out because you can grab and go and it doesn't cause a nausea and you don't have to have something to eat or drink with you. But you do trade off some of those therapeutic bioavailability effects for sure. But if that's the only way you can get it down, then I'm okay with it. If that's it. If other forms are not an option, and that's what we got to go with to get you to take your probiotic then no judgments, but it's not the best.
Yes. Yes. What she said. Okay. Questions. All right. First question, it looks like, what helps endometrial cancer?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if that's something we can say because
we're not diagnosing or giving any advice.
Right.
Go ask your doctor.
Definitely ask your doctor about that.
Yeah, I didn't see anything specific to endometrial cancer, but definitely garlic covers a lot of the anti-inflammatory effects that can happen, in your body with cancer. And of course, just like anything that we talk about, you've got this cancer, that's something you can't physically control. You got to go and get your chemo, your radiation, surgery, or whatnot. But you want your body to be absolutely the strongest it can be. So you want to avoid putting toxic substances into your body and decrease inflammation in your body. So, garlic was one of the ones that we talked about, but for sure, whoever is treating your endometrial cancer is going to know specifically what herbs or supplements they would recommend or not recommend during, before, and after treatment.
And we did put the Sloan Kettering site up that has some of that information.
Excellent.
So it's in the comments too, Kate. Thank you for that question. Bobby asks, so which calcium is best?
Sonia.
I like calcium citrate. I
Okay.
think that is one of the best forms, typically in a capsule form or powder form.
She said, I'm supposed to supplement D and calcium because of my hormone blocker.
Yeah, if you can't find the combo, because they do sell a lot of the combos because they want you on the 1,200 milligrams of calcium and 500 of D, and it has to be broken up because 1,200 calcium at one time can be really nauseated. So if you can't find the combo with the calcium citrate, then separate it. Get your vitamin D3 and definitely do more than 1,000, and then get your calcium citrate, 600 milligrams that you would take twice a day.
Yes.
Off of Facebook, I hear a lot about magnesium, but there's so many different, I'm thinking that's supposed to say kinds. Any advice about these?
You need a lab test first. Do not take magnesium without a lab test to know you're deficient. It's an electrolyte.
It is an electrolyte.
Yeah.
Oftentimes I see a lot of people are overall magnesium deficient again, but I start with lab tests for all of my patients because it's a baseline and I need to know where you're at because every person's different and every person's needs are different. So
right. And like Sonia said, why do you need magnesium? Why are we taking magnesium?
Yeah, it's really important that we stress, no matter who you are and what you are told, make sure that you are seen and being told this by your doctor, your nurse practitioner, because like any type of drug, supplements and vitamins can be poisonous or toxic too if you ingest too much. And what about athletic greens? This one came from Twitter.
Athletic greens, I mean, it's basically desiccated powdered greens, like a bunch of different veggies and whatnot that's dried and powdered. What's the problem with eating actual greens?
Because they taste junky.
Yeah, because they don't taste as good.
I'm going to assume this came from like a bodybuilder or someone who goes to the gym quite often. They put the athletic greens in their little shaker bottle and shake it up and off, right?
So what's the equivalent, Sonia, for, how much greens, like cup, 2 cup, 3 cup, to get the equivalent in what you would get in athletic greens? And is the bioavailability the same, like, the photokines and things that you want to get out of those greens?
Exactly. So I think it depends on the brand and the type, but I think it's somewhere on average like 4 or 5 servings per of equivalents to 4 or 5 servings of veggies per scoop or something like that. But it does not substitute for actual vegetables because you're not getting the fiber, you're not getting the vitamins and minerals, you're not getting the enzymes, you're not getting, all of the things that are in a live plant, right?
What are you getting? What are you getting from athletic greens?
Right.
What are you getting from that?
Is it like more of an electrolyte? Is it more, what else is being added in there? Like, is it just looking at antioxidant property, right? Maybe you're getting more antioxidants in those greens. Okay. Fine.
I feel like that's something that this person should also talk to a certified nutritionist about too, because
There's really no substitute for greens.
no.
We will never tell you to not eat greens.
Ever.
Some grains.
As Dr. Gundry says, if it's green, go lean.
That's amazing.
I don't even know what that means.
He has a saying, if it's white, keep it out of sight. If it's brown, slow down. If it's green, go lean. When it comes to colors and foods.
Oh,
No.
Kind of catchy.
cool. Yeah.
It's his saying, not mine.
You guys, we are out of time.
My
I
goodness.
think that we
Wow.
had an amazing discussion on vitamins and supplements and everything. Couple things just to note. We have one last Shay's Warriors Life After Cancer event coming up. It's going to be about celebrating the gift of life. And Wally's Desert Turtle in Rancho Mirage is hosting a beautiful champagne high tea, which also will have mocktails. Because as we know, mocktails are very important in life after cancer. And we still want to celebrate and have fun and enjoy the celebration. This is going to be presented by Louis Montel Monret, I guess, Champagne. And it is in honor of Nicole Botello. The daughters are hosting this really amazing Mother's Day experience. And there are 4 different courses. So we encourage you, and this ticket's still available. You can find it on our events page. You can go to Open Table. It is from 12 to 3 o'clock. I know the 3 of us will be there, along with a lot of amazing other players and survivors, and a lot of just amazing community. Because again, we're lifting up 100% of everything that we raise this weekend is to our annual I Am Hope Survivors Reset Retreat, where 40 survivors from right here in the Valley and a few from beyond are going to a 4-day, 3-night experience in the beautiful city of La Quinta on June 8th, 11th, of just a little less than a month away. And what we have planned is the most amazing experience. I think it's just going to be, I want to say, but I can't say because it's a surprise. So our community has uplifted everybody, and we just want to thank everybody who has supported us throughout the year to make this a special experience for these survivors, warriors, and thrivers, especially our board, our ambassadors, and all of our volunteers, near and far. So if you're able to join us this weekend on Saturday, it is the last event. It's an opportunity to just celebrate and celebrate the love around community as well. So hope to see you there. And if you love what we do and you want to help our mission, go ahead. Go to shayswarriors.org. You can donate, you can give, you can partner with us, you can volunteer with us. We are always looking for amazing volunteers and ambassadors throughout the Valley and beyond. And we do have them beyond. We have a couple in different states and everything, and they fly on to be at some of these events. So when you are going through cancer, when you are after cancer, you need a huge tribe, and that's what we are. We're supportive. We got your back. Fun, laughter, tears. There's so much to be told. So we hope to see you there. Dr. Fung and Jeannie, thank you so much for all of your knowledge and the amazing tidbits that you give us every second and 4th Wednesday of every. I'm Shay Moraga, signing out. Bye.
Hi. Good night, everyone.
Read your labels.